Hello, Falcons. Mhm. Hello, Falcons fans. This is Playboy Darian here with the Dirty Bird Diner, and we're about to do a recap on the rounds 1 through 3 so far, and talk about how we feel about the picks that the Atlanta Falcons have made up to this point. But first, let's get into the intro. What's going on? What's going on, man? Welcome back to the Dirty Bird Diner. I am your host, Playboy Darion. Playboy Darion. Playboy Darian, man. And yeah, so far the draft has been going on for 2 days. Round 1 through 3 so far. So we still got the rest of the draft, which should come on tomorrow on day 3. Um and the draft is it has been has had its ups and downs. It has been, should I say, quite a surprise, stirred up quite a lot of topics and controversy. But we're gonna get into all of that. We've got a show lined up for y'all, probably about about a 30-minute, 40-minute episode. Um, maybe even quicker than that, just depending on how much we get through the topics. But um, I wanted to come to you guys and have a discussion, have an open, candid discussion about how I feel personally about the Atlanta Falcons pick so far up until this point. I mean, we still have the fourth round tomorrow, fifth, sixth, seventh. We still have those picks to go, but we've gotten through pretty much the good middle half of the draft. So without further ado, let's go ahead and hop into our topics for today. Um, let's see. All right. So the Atlanta Falcons draft overview. What is this session about? What is this section about? Hmm?
What do you mean by that?
What do I mean? Going into this draft, going into this draft, Atlanta made some offseason moves. We were definitely in the quarterback market prior to signing Kirk Cousins this year. Gave him $180 million contract, 100 million guaranteed, signing him up to 4 years. I think only 2 years of it is actually need to be paid to him. We traded away our future project in Desmond Ritter to the Arizona Cardinals. We fired our head coach. We hired a new head coach who was a part of a previous regime after the Super Bowl, after we lost Dan Quinn. Um, Owner still the same, but we also get rid of Thomas Dimitroff out of the football operations, meaning he shouldn't have any more hands in on the picks and what Atlanta does with this team. He was blamed for so much, not drafting the players that Atlanta needed, not getting the players that Atlanta fans wanted, making trades and passing up on players that we could have used, especially during the time of having Matt Ryan. Um, Pretty much overall making this team. I feel like this team hates the draft. Let's be honest. I feel like during the draft season, there is not much to look forward to when it comes to being an Atlanta Falcons fan, for the most part, because either we don't pick the people that we feel like we do need or that the world feels like we need, or we end up going with somebody that we thought would be a better prospect than what we should have gotten, and they turn out to be just absolute trash. And we seem to do better in the free agency market or bringing in players that have already played out contracts on previous teams. So the draft is not really our strong suit. I don't think it has been our strong suit other than possibly quarterback, all the way going back into the Michael Vick days and the Matt Ryan days. And I'm not really going to count Desmond Ritter because he was a third round quarterback. He was not a first round, a for sure guy. He was a project guy, and he was failed prior to taking the job in Atlanta. But that's neither here nor there, and we've already been through that. So prior to this draft, we go and we sign Kirk Cousins. We get a for sure quarterback. We get someone that is has a good tenure in the NFL, that has the ability to throw the ball, that has the playmaking ability, that's able to carry a team. Pretty much shown that he can get us wherever we need to be throughout the regular season. It's the playoffs that we don't trust. We don't trust Kirk Cousins. Nobody does. But this man continuously gets all this money. He continuously gets the money that a lot of people feel he does not deserve or he shouldn't get. But at the end of the day, his production warrants that. The market warrants that. So we sign him. We have a pretty good squad from the defense that we built last year or that upgraded from the previous year, but we are still missing some pieces, especially secondary. Maybe get some safety help. We need another corner on side of AJ Terrell. Possibly concerns of if we are even going to keep AJ Terrell and maybe have a predecessor for him. You're aging up front on the D line between Grady Jarrett and David Onyemata. We lose Calais Campbell. We don't bring back Bud Dupree yet. None of this has happened yet. And you only have really one or two defensive edge prospects that are looked at as potential futures in Atlanta or still have the potential to grow into a certified edge rusher that we need in Arnold Ebiketie and Harrison from Ohio. So the pretty much the masses believe that Atlanta will go defense. We have Drake London, we have Kyle Pitts, we have Bijan Robinson. We went and got a few wide receiver weapons from Chicago and Arizona. We got some speed guys, and we everybody pretty much has a census that Atlanta is set offensively. The defensive side of the ball, particularly up front, is where we may need help. Is where we need to go in this draft. That is what a lot of people feel. That's what a lot of people think, and that is what most fans think. And that is something I thought. Okay, which brings us to our next topic. The world debate heard around the world. The Michael Penix pick. Now, prior to this pick, everybody believed that we were going to go Dallas Turner at number 8. If not Dallas Turner, maybe Layu Latu from UCLA. Some type of edge rusher, edge presence that Atlanta has continued to neglect for years and years and years in the NFL draft. I'll give you another example. The year that we could have gotten Michael Parsons, we decided to go with a tight end. A lot of people felt that this was a wasted pick, being that Atlanta still was neglecting edge rusher. Now, this was also the year that Julio Jones was leaving. We were bringing in Kyle Pitts, I'm guessing as some type of substitute or subsidy for not having a big body, getting a player that is supposedly the best player available, but you still neglected to get an edge. We pass up Michael Parsons. We get to now, he's looking like he's going to pan out to be a future Hall of Famer for the Cowboys. We don't know yet, but he's on the trajectory of being one of the star players in Dallas, remembered for times, and being a Hall of Fame player. So, what does that mean for Atlanta? I think the last time I personally saw us draft an edge rusher was Vic Beasley and Takk McKinley, both which failed. The last defensive player that I can remember that we drafted higher in certain rounds was Marlon Davidson. Failed. So it's pretty much just one of those things where Atlanta has got to be strategic about who they pick on defense. They need to be strategic about who they put on defense because this team needs it. This team ranked god awful last year in pressures and sacks. And everybody believed that we should have went defense, but instead we chose Michael Penix Jr. Now me personally, even though we did not go defense, I was not mad, or I am not mad about the pick, because I personally believe from what I saw and what I've seen that Michael Penix is a first round talent. He is arguably the second best quarterback in this draft behind Caleb Williams, but he is probably the best deep thrower of the football. And he matches a lot of the traits that Raheem Morris, Terry Fontenot said that they were looking for in a quarterback. I also said early on a stream that I think he would be a perfect matter of fact, the stream that I did with a Vikings fan. I asked him, do you think that we should grab Michael Penix if he falls down to the later rounds or to the late end of the first? If we trade back or the second round, I think Michael Penix would be a great substitute to come in for Kirk Cousins. But over the draft process and over the scouting process, people felt that he was a lot more than a second round pick or a late first. A lot of people thought that he had injury history that was concerning. He had 4 major injuries through college that put him out in most of the seasons, but he was able to come back. He was able to show his will to come back and his ability to play through it. 2 years go by, he don't have any injuries, and he also gets his team to the championship game, even though they lost. He obviously showed that he was one of the best quarterbacks. Probably better than Drake May, being that he actually won games and got his team to a meaningful game and actually showed that he could face competition like Texas and other teams that had a pretty solid defense and ability to stop them. Teams like Oregon, Texas. I'm not gonna say Michigan, but we saw Penix put up numbers and we saw what he had the ability to do. A lot of people are upset because they feel like if you were going to go quarterback at number 8, then what was the purpose of bringing in Kirk Cousins? Why pay him $180 million or $100 million guaranteed if you automatically knew you were going to go get a quarterback? I tell you why they did it. Now, it does raise an eyebrow. It does make me question, what were we doing? We could have used that money for other resources. We could have used that money to go throw at another edge rusher. We could have possibly went and got Brian Burns. We could have I would have not been mad had Atlanta traded the number 8th overall pick to Carolina to go get Brian Burns. If you had signed Kirk Cousins knowing that he was going to be the quarterback for the next 2 to 3 years. It may have taken more than just the 8th round pick, but I would have not minded them going to go get a solidified edge rusher, young and able to show you that he can get to the quarterback, disrupt the offensive line, disrupt the plays, get into the backfield. I would have not minded if Atlanta traded this year's first to go get someone like Brian Burns. We tried to go get Daniil Hunter from Minnesota. He decided to go to Texas because that's where he's from, and then he also got no state taxes. So we tried. We tried to get Hassan Reddick. That didn't work. Now you got Henderson from Cincinnati that's requesting a trade. So even if you don't go edge rusher in this draft, Atlanta, we should start to see some trade compensation. We should start to see some talk about going for edge rush or something. And we didn't, at least not in the first round. Hell, not even in the second round, which is to me is a bit concerning because that is one of the main needs of this team. But they felt that they were going to get a quarterback for the future. But I tell you why they did it. They don't want to deal with this anymore. They don't want to deal with the possibility of not having a backup quarterback or a quarterback in the building that can be at least competent when the games are on the line. Now, me personally, I was not a fan of us signing Kirk Cousins, knowing that he had a Achilles injury. I don't know too many quarterbacks that have had an Achilles injury and came back that we have history of. Maybe I'm not old enough to know that, but we're betting on the ability of Kirk Cousins to come back and last through the contract. We're betting on the ability for Kirk Cousins to come back and be what we need for this team. So if he comes back and he gets hurt again, who was going to take his spot? Who was going to be his predecessor? Who was going to be the one to carry the Atlanta Falcons on to more wins and possibly still making the playoff or winning the NFC South? Who was going to be the person to take over for him? I'll give you a second. I'll let you decide. Nobody. Kirk Cousins only had Taylor Heineke as his backup. We saw Taylor Heineke last year. We saw Taylor Heineke with Washington. We saw Taylor Heineke with Carolina. We've seen Taylor Heineke. He's had his moments, he's had his flashes. He showed us that he could possibly win you to anywhere between 3 to 6 games, 3 to 9 games. Okay, yeah, we've seen this. But is that who you want to put Bijan's future in? Kyle Pitts, Drake London, Tyler Algier, the young offensive lineman that we just signed $100 million for, Chris Lindstrom. Do you want to waste AJ Terrell's contracts? Do you want to waste Jesse Bates? Do you want to waste the rest of Grady Jarrett's career and not even have a competent enough quarterback to be able to come in and continue to run the offense the way that it should be ran? Do you want to see another Desmond Ridder, even though that's not Desmond's fault because he should have never been given the starting job without us seeing him first. But I understand why they made this pick because if you think that you're going to be better than what you were last year with Kirk Cousins and you don't see yourself possibly being able to get another quarterback to take his spot when he does leave, I can understand why you go and get Penix. And the reason I'm not really upset or too mad is because we've done this. We've had edge rushers sitting directly in our face that we continue to not take. We continue to pass up the edge rushers that are going to make a difference in this team and on this defense. And we continuously go either offensive projection, offensive players, or try to find defensive substitutes in the back end of the draft in the third or later round picks. And it continues to get us in the same boat of, yeah, we got Grady. Yeah, we got a few little rotational pieces, but we don't have a key guy to set the edge. We don't have our, you know what I'm saying, number one edge rusher, the person that is on the banister on when you walk in the stadium, the person you know, like when you go to Pittsburgh or when you go to New Orleans or when you were going to Brian Burns in Carolina or when you're going, you know, when you're going to see a certified edge rusher, we don't have that guy. And even then, I'm not upset about the pick because I love the fact of knowing that at least we have quarterback settled. Because I am tired of dealing with the quarterback mishaps and the problems that it brings. I'm tired of it. Tired of it. I think we didn't appreciate Matt Ryan enough like we should have. And we've dealt with that. We've had to go through the losing seasons, the 7-10 back to back to back. We've had to go through not having a quarterback behind the starter. We've had to deal with it. So I don't know. I feel like that's why they took Michael Penix. So Terry and Terry Fontenot and Raheem Morris said that they were thinking about the future. They were worried about the future. They were trying to keep the team as productive as it was now and still focus on being able to take care of the problems in the future. But I just don't understand why edge rusher still wasn't on the list as far as in the early 2 rounds at least. Now, with this being said, of course, Kirk Cousins came in saying that he wanted to be the uh the number one guy. He wants Atlanta to be his last stop. He wants to retire in Atlanta. But news came out that he didn't learn about the Michael Penix pick until they were on the clock and they were about to make the pick. He was never notified, him or his agent, and yet he still, you know, didn't know about Michael Penix coming. So this is potentially somebody that's going to be competition for you, somebody that they're looking to take your spot, even if you produce the next 2 or 3 years. They were focused on the future. I don't really care about Kirk Cousins being upset because my guy, you got paid. You already got your money. Worst case scenario, you get traded again or another team wants you again because you balling out and you still keep your value and you still are a wanted commodity. If not, we've got somebody to be able to back you up and also learn from you because you're the type of guy that I guess we paid or we feel that should be able to lead a team and also coach or help or whatever the case is. You also costed us some draft picks because you got up on the podium and you started talking and you started snitching, you started saying what you were saying, and you know, I mean, like I said, it is what it is. We've got a quarterback, somebody that could possibly take over the future for Kirk Cousins. Not really worried about Kirk Cousins being upset. It is what it is on that part. So be it. Okay. I think that Michael Penix was a good pick. I personally liked Michael Penix as a quarterback possibility before we got Kirk Cousins. I wish that that would have just been the only quarterback we got on top of maybe bringing in a Russell or bringing in maybe a Justin Fields. I don't know. Somebody else that could have just been a gap between Desmond Ritter and the next quarterback of the future, but not cost us a fortune. And I don't understand that part, but I'm not upset about it either because at the same, like I said, we passed on Michael Parsons for Kyle Pitts. And I don't care how much you love Kyle Pitts or you think he's a unicorn or whatever. To me, Kyle Pitts was not the pick that we needed at that moment. He wasn't. Knowing that we had sat and watched Matt Ryan decline the way he was going down, we should have not picked a damn tight end. We should have went and got Justin Fields and let him sit or let a quarterback sit behind Matt Ryan and then move on from him and at least be able to transition from Matt Ryan to a somewhat decent quarterback play. But instead, we've been through pure hell since then. So as a Falcons fan, you have to be real and you have to be realistic with yourself and ask yourself, is this the future that you want to continue to live in without a quarterback? Forget the edge rusher. Forget the fact that okay, we can't sack the quarterback more than what we have. Okay, but is the defense improving? Is the defense better than what it's been? I don't know if you guys remember, but when we went to the Super Bowl, we didn't have the best defense then. We didn't have a solidified edge rusher other than Vic Beasley, and that was for like one season. So I think Terry and Raheem are going to build a team effort. They're going to build a defense by committee and not just by one person. So I think that the pick the pick is fine. I just didn't see it coming at 8. I thought that we would possibly move back and grab a defensive talent. We didn't. We grabbed Michael Penix. I am not upset about it. I'm not finna cry about it. I'm not gonna burn my Falcons gear. I'm not gonna be that type of person because it is what it is. At least we got Kirk Cousins and a quarterback to come in behind him, and we are done, hopefully, with this bouncing around, trying to find somebody and hopefully the Arthur Smith type of play calling and not knowing even how to draw up shit and how to have a quarterback to read a defense and who to throw it to. And I don't want to deal with that no more. And if you don't like the pick, I can understand your frustration. I get that you want to have an edge rusher. I get that we want to have a player that's gonna be, you know, a marquee player at the defensive edge position. But at the end of the day, the marquee player that can possibly take over Kirk Cousins and be our future and stop this confusion we have at the quarterback position, which we've had for a long time now, then Michael Penix wasn't the bad pick. So, what are my concerns and my thoughts so far for the Atlanta Falcons for the draft of rounds 1 through 3? My concern is that did we get the right players in the second and third round? Did we get someone who is really worth the pick or worth moving up or worth even um someone even worth I believe in the second round, if I'm not mistaken, they moved up. We had like the 43rd pick and they moved up to the 35th pick. And we grabbed the defensive tackle from Clemson. How many times have we gotten Clemson players and they don't really work out? That was the previous regime, the previous uh owner or not owner, but the previous um I can't even think of the name right now. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Thomas Dimitroff and them. That was them. Clemson was their pride and joy. That's who they would go get. Um, I think one of my concerns is that we still haven't grabbed wide receiver. I expected us if the draft would have fallen the way that I thought it would. I thought we were gonna go defense at the first pick, possibly defense at the second pick, and wide receiver at the third pick. And then we traded away one of our third round picks to move up and get the edge rusher, Braylon Trice. I was looking at some of his film, some of his tape. He's pretty decent as far as an edge rusher. I just feel like he's gonna be similar to like what Ebiketie brings. He's not really technically sound yet. He's still gonna need improvement. He's still gonna need coaching, which is not a problem. But will he be able to make a immediate impact the way we need him now? I think is the concern that I would have. And was he the right option to take if we could have just traded back, traded down, and get a more ready prospect on defense to add to the team since we're in a win now mode? Other than that, though, I probably would give the Falcons a solid B minus because of the questions that we have with the Kirk Cousins contract, if these players are gonna pan out what they're doing, and are we gonna draft a receiver? Because I still don't feel like we have a receiver number two. I don't care what they paid Darnell Mooney. I don't care about them going to get Rondell Moore. I don't care. I still feel like we need a second receiver. And I don't think that we have that yet. We tried to do some moving around and try to find that second receiver last year, and they were nowhere to be found. Probably because we didn't have a quarterback to throw on the ball, but there were so many receivers on the board at the top of the second round that I feel like if we were gonna trade up to go get one, maybe you should have just went ahead and went with your chips and and went up further to go get your second receiver. If you're gonna go get Michael Penix, you might as well go get a receiver now because you know you're gonna need a receiver, another receiver for Kirk Cousins, and you're gonna need a future receiver to grow into this offense with Penix. And then you come back with a third round pick and you get an edge rusher. And then maybe on the fourth round pick tomorrow, you come back and you double down on the edge rusher. I, I don't I don't think we had to go get defensive tackle right now, but I understand that people would want us to have a plan for Grady and David Onyemata. But I think edge was really the concern for most of our fans and most people. And I like I said, I don't know. Now we got two Washington players. We got an edge rusher, but we got him in the third. If he turns out to be, what he can be, and if they can coach him up good enough to become a player that we definitely need, and he becomes a player like Hendrickson or Henderson, then I feel like then all of this Penix drama will be wiped away. But other than that, guys, so far, like I said, I hope that we draft some type of receiver help because I still feel like we need a second receiver. Um, Flood the receiver room, man. You've already paid Kirk Cousins 180 some million dollars. You've already put all these resources into him. You've already added another quarterback, and we already had previous number 8 round picks where we went offense. So you might as well just continue to load the offense now since you're at this point. You know, I'm still concerned about us not having a second cornerback alongside AJ Terrell. I think that Clark Phillips could possibly do that. I believe more in D Alford possibly being that, but I think they're gonna leave him inside and let Clark Phillips fight for the outside position. But I mean, I don't know. They went and got some veteran help for some cornerbacks. I don't even know who we got, but you know, this was a deep draft as far as defensively, and I just think that we may we may have we may have missed the opportunity to get the players that we should have gotten. But I'm gonna let Terry continue to cook, and I'm gonna trust that Raheem is coming back with a new mindset for this team, and that they are in a new trajectory as far as what we can expect our Atlanta Falcons to look like. And ending that on this note, don't matter. We've got another African American quarterback. I know a lot of you probably don't care. You probably don't think about it. You probably don't even want to hear about it. It's not important. What does it have to do? It doesn't. But just knowing that Raheem has been there and he knows what that city represents and he knows what those fans represent and he knows what that image looks like to that city and what it will bring to that stadium and bring to that atmosphere. It does play a part. I think it does play a part. He's not going to be Michael Vick, but it's just a certain image that Atlanta hasn't had in a long time. And I think restarting that cycle of maybe getting somebody that can relate to your fans and relate to your fan base and relate to the majority of the city possibly could turn out well. But I wish Michael Penix the best of luck. I hope that my Atlanta Falcons get it right this year, and I pray that within the next few rounds we either find a way to maybe, I don't know, get a sleeper pick that fail again. There is an edge rusher from Colorado State, Camara, that I've got my eye on that I think that we should possibly look at too, because I believe that he plays with a lot of intensity, and I think he has a it factor also that we could possibly grab in later rounds and possibly still get edge rusher help and get what we need for this team. And like I said, a second receiver, maybe a guy that can take the top off, but he still has a little route running ability. Maybe he has some drops here and there. They can need to work with him on that, but wide receiver help, possibly another sleeper edge, and then we'll see what this season brings and see if it was worth us taking Penix in the first instead of going edge. And mind you, none of the defensive players that we thought were gonna go went where they were supposed to go. They all slipped past pick 14 or 15. So um maybe we have to also keep this in mind before I go. We have to also keep this in mind. The draft board for every team is different. The best player available for every team is different. What they feel is best for their team or what they grade players is very different from each other. So while we may think Dallas Turner is better than Latu, some teams may have Latu better than Dallas. Some teams may also have a corner higher than both of them as far as impact. Some teams may feel like they want to go grab a quarterback, even though they don't need a quarterback because they might be the best prospect on the board. Some teams may think that all the receivers are better than everybody else on the board, and they're gonna move up and try to get. So it's really based on what the teams feel as far as best player available, draft boards, draft strategy, and things like that. And I think sometimes we forget that when we do these mock drafts and when we listen to these reporters and listen to ESPN and listen to all the sports channels and not realize like these people are doing what is best for their team in their opinion and their building. We've got to trust that process and we've got to let that be what it is. So, with that being said, I wish Michael Penix the best. I pray that all of the picks afterwards, the defensive tackle from Clemson and Braylon Trice on the edge, they are productive and that they can grow into this team and make an immediate impact and become the sleeper picks that we need and allow us to make a playoff run this year because we need it desperately. But until then, I am going to watch the other picks in the draft. I'm going to keep my eye open and see what type of steals we get and see what other type of players we did. I'm going to do my research and I'm going to see what we actually have and what they're going to bring to the table. But so far, I am not mad about the pick. I am confused about the pick. I am shocked about the pick, but I am not upset about the pick because, like I said, I've watched this team pass immense amount of talent and defensive edges and things that we needed that we didn't get. So why would I be upset? So anyway, guys, I appreciate you for tuning in to the Dirty Bird Diner with this late night conversation, but it's gonna be presented to you in the early mornings, in the early wee mornings. So hopefully you got your cup of coffee and your breakfast, and you guys are ready for day 3 of the draft. If you watch this, I truthfully appreciate you. If you're a supporter of this, I truthfully appreciate you. Thank you for coming through. Leave comments in the in the description or in the comment box. Let me know what you think about the picks. Let me know what you think Atlanta should have done or what they should do in these next couple of draft picks that we have. And let's just see where this takes us before we get too judgmental. So with that being said, man, you guys have a good one and go Falcons. Rise up.